are going live. It looks good to me. Looks like we're live. Welcome, everyone, to our daily success
Hello.
call for Tuesday, the 15th of January, 2021. John Lavinia here with you and with all of you. Let's look at these beautiful people for just a second here. Look at this. Oh, most of you don't have your cameras on. Mark does. Hey, Mark, good to see you, brother. There's Kimberly. David, I just met you, David. Amber's here. Here comes Miriam. Miriam, we could start the party now. Teresa's here. Hooray. Hooray for us. Okay, we're going to go back on speaker view. I'm excited. I'm excited, you guys. We got so much good stuff going on here. Oh, my goodness. And I was just having a conversation with my friend Missy. That's Missy, by the way, also known as Alison. And there she is. And we were just talking about some concepts like goal setting and dialogue, internal and external dialogue. And I'm thinking, where's she getting this stuff from? She says, well, I've been reading the book. I was like, well, which book? Integrity is Everything by John Lavinia. Oh, okay. Now I know what book you were reading. Yeah. So sometimes I read that book too, Missy, and I read it and I'm like, my goodness, how profound I was when I wrote this. The whole idea of integrity, the idea of doing what you say you're going to do. And there's actually three main definitions for integrity: adherence to moral and ethical principles. Those are two different things, by the way, morals and ethics. There's two different definitions there. But my favorite definition for integrity, I like them all, but the third one is the state of being whole, undivided, and undiminished. I'll say that again: the state of being whole, undivided, and undiminished. So as within, so without. Think of like structural integrity. So here's the structure. Okay. Would you like that to be undiminished and whole and undivided?
Yes.
Of course you would, right? If it's going to stand the test of time. And really that's what we're talking about when it comes to the main consideration that I have about, we're doing business. Okay. What business is it? Well, whatever business it is, but who's doing it? Who's doing it? A person of integrity? Ralph Emerson, the great American philosopher, said, of what use to make heroic vows of amendment if the same old lawbreaker is to keep them? This is why New Year's resolutions typically don't work, right? So you've got people that are, living riotously, let's say, and that may be a bit extreme, but here's the lack of production, right? Here's the semi-purposeless squandering of time. It's one of Ben Franklin's virtues: lose not time. Okay. So here's the person who is the same old lawbreaker. And now, because the calendar says that it's January 1st or something, so now suddenly we're going to have resolve because the calendar told us to? No, BS. I call BS on that. Right. So integrity is a full-time proposition, and it's all by degree. Right. I haven't arrived, or, look at me, I'm amazing or something. But, with as much integrity that I've developed and demonstrated in my life, I've been able to have some pretty great results. So I'm not done, right? I'm still on the path. But the idea that we can turn over a new leaf and actually have some resolve, right? Regardless of what the calendar says, I don't give a damn. But because my best thinking got me this far, but not further, I can go ahead and in some cases have to abandon some of my most cherished beliefs about, how life works or whatever, right? How business works or what I'm capable of, right? I actually have to forgive myself of my blunders and my having missed the mark in the past. And I've got to actually reclaim my own worthiness. It's kind of like hitting a reset button. So we're doing all these calculations, right? You got your calculators out and math, right? And now you got another equation that you want to do, right? Well, what if you tried to do that equation with all the numbers that you were just calculating before, right? So you're going to go add those numbers on top. Are you going to get a right answer? Impossible. It's never going to happen. You're not going to get a right answer. You got to hit the reset, the clear button, clear all clear, whatever it has to be. And if we can do that metaphorically in our minds, which, by the way, is a tall order, and that's what we're going to talk about here today a little bit. Henry Ford said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably why so few people engage in it. I know that sounds funny, but look around, right? So can we hit that reset button? If you want it bad enough, And that's the consideration, right? If you've got enough contrast, if you've got, and we'll get into like the goal setting part of this here in a minute, but if you've got enough contrast that you can see, clearly, clarity is what we're talking about here. Clarity comes through contrast. You could see the difference between where you are and where you want to go, where you could see the difference between the operating strategy that you've been applying up to this point versus that of another who you could possibly model, get some examples from. Here's a demonstration of somebody who's gone further than you. Okay, great. So let's just go ahead and compartmentalize. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't know. It looks nice. Let me get a little bit coachable here. Let me go ahead and stop thinking I already know, because that is the surest way to make sure we learn nothing, is to assume we already know. Real dangerous spot to be in. I know. Ooh, dangerous thing to utter. Don't let that come out of your mouth unless you're really, really sure. Okay, so on that note, let's say that we did entertain this idea of integrity, this idea of being more as within, so without, undivided in our intent and in our actions, right? Having the discipline to be able to give ourselves a directive and actually follow it, right? Oh my goodness, right? That's amazing. Of what used to make heroic vows of amendment, if the same old lawbreaker is to keep them. Well, I say right now, hit the reset button. This guy, that's not who we're hiring to do this job. That guy yesterday, last year, 5 minutes ago, that's not the guy we're hiring to do this job. This is the guy, and he's worthy of the job. And I bet on him. And here's why: because he's got a goal. He's going somewhere. Now, I want you to think about this. In life, would you follow anyone if they didn't have a destination? Hey, David, come on, let's go. Where are we going? I don't know. Maybe over here, maybe over there, maybe someplace good, maybe not. I don't know. Are you going to follow me? If you're insane, yeah. So sane people follow people that have a destination, right? Now, I would argue that all of us here, relatively speaking, are sane. We can argue that if you like. Okay, but let's just, if we're going to make any assumptions, let's assume that. Okay, so you can reason, right? You've got, some sanity. Okay, very good, very good. Would you follow you if you didn't have a destination? Would you give yourself a directive and actually do it? I would argue no. Sane people follow someone with a destination, and that could even be you. That's called being inner directed. So where are you going? Great question. Fantastic question. I remember reading this book from this Hindu guy, great guru, Swami Muktananda. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him. Missy may have. She's been reading Neville and some of this pretty far out stuff. But this guy was of the Siddha Yoga lineage, India, and all this. Anyway, he wrote a book. He wrote a few, but one of those books was called "Where Are You Going?" That was the whole title of the book. Great question. Thanks for asking. Do you know? Most people don't. So, and again, knowing this is by degree, right? It's not like, I completely know. I've got my crystal ball. I know every bit of drama that's going to lead to that. And so that's where we get into goal setting. And we have to start with the idea that, again, we're worthy, but also that we're able of reaching every goal we set. There's an affirmation. I reach every goal I set. Might feel a little uncomfortable at first, especially if you're looking in the rearview mirror at the person who missed the mark. Oh my goodness. Well, great news. The past does not equal the future. How spectacular is that? Time keeps going forward. Okay, great. So we've got opportunities. So what are these opportunities? Well, in my book, which Missy was enjoying, by the way, I didn't put it on the recommended books list at the outset because I thought it would be a bit arrogant to do so. Here you go, everyone. Read my book. Here's the link. Go buy it from Amazon. You could still do that if you like. And some of you obviously have done that of your own accord. But I give a formula. In fact, we're gonna take this up to a greater degree when we get to your business launch strategy session. This is going to be more real for you. But right now, here's a summary of how anyone could formulate an orderly, sane, and workable goal for yourself. And it's an acronym called SMART. Some of you have heard this. Some of you have heard a bastardized version of this. I'm going to give you the real version of it as it was given to me some decades ago. And SMART is an acronym, and it stands for S, specific, M for measurable. I'll go through this all again. So if you're taking notes, I'll back up for a minute here. M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, not realistic, relevant is what R stands for. So if you've heard it the other way, disabuse yourself of that false data. And number 5 is T for time. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals. Specific. All right, so specific. What specifically, listen to the question, what specifically do you intend to experience? A specific experience. Let's say, for example, you have a goal to get a new car. Okay. So is it just a piece of metal in the driveway? Is that actually the specific thing? Or is it the experience of ownership, the experience of driving, the experience of smelling the leather, right? All of that, right? That's the experience. Specifically, what color leather? Specifically, where are you driving? Right? So there's nothing vague about this. We're formulating a vision of the experience that we intend to have. Specifically. All right. So M for measurable. That's an easy one. What does it cost? So now we can measure. Emma's driving to the beach with her top down. Yeah, girl, I will meet you there. But measurable, or what does that car cost? Right. So in addition to your cost of living and you're making money and keeping the lights on and whatever, in addition to that, here is the down payment or the payment or the entire payment. You're buying the thing cash. I'll tell you what, that's a really nice thing to do as well. I know it's a depreciating asset. We can argue about, working capital versus, liabilities, but not having a liability every month. When I bought my Harley, I paid cash for it. Now, finance and insurance managers don't like that necessarily, but I'm buying it it's my experience, not their experience. So, yeah, here's your title. Here's your motorcycle, right? I like that. That's nice. So what does it cost? And we can also, you could see how this works out with other specific goals, right? The experience of having the ideal fitness, right? Okay, what's the measurable thing? Is it losing a certain amount of pounds or kilos or putting on, muscle mass, right? So, I mean, ask any competitive, bodybuilder or whatever, right? There's measurements, right? It's quantifiable. There's nothing vague about this. If you're vague, you get to be vague, right? So we got to get unvague here. So it's measurable. A for achievable. And here's the question. Has anyone else ever done this? So my first business goal when I was getting into business successfully was $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month. Am I the only guy on planet Earth that's ever done that? No, of course not. People make that in a day, right? So that's achievable. And I can find evidences, plural. I can look, and because seek and you shall find, right? You will find evidence of others who have already demonstrated that. So it's not so far out, unachievable, pipe dream kind of stuff. Now, typically we can swallow about double what we've been swallowing up to this point. So if you've been making 10 grand a month at your job or your current business, 20,000 per month could be, something that you could psychologically digest. Okay. So just use that as a rule of thumb. There are situations where you can have enormous increases, and that's going to come down to necessity level. In other words, how bad do you want it? Like if you got a lot of contrast, right? Like you're really in the crap right now, and you're like it's a state of emergency or something. People get really motivated and they get really unreasonable. Okay, that's a good thing too. So while reason is a good mental faculty to have, it helps you survive in life and know that you shouldn't, walk out in front of speeding traffic and stuff. That's good reason. Okay, that's nice, but that's all based on what we already know. Sometimes we're going to get unreasonable. In fact, all of our goals lie in the realm of the unknown. So reason is limited. Okay. Sometimes we go past reason, and it's a really good thing to do, into other mental faculties like imagination, intuition. Oh, that's not limited. And that's not based on what we already know. Okay. So a lot more possibility there. So achievable. Go ahead and load your guns with some evidence that other people are doing it too. So you're not so unique or whatever. R for relevant. And this may be the most important part of the whole goal setting formula. Relevant to who? Relevant to you. Nobody can set your goal for you, right? So it's important to Missy, whatever that specific experience is that she's going to have. See the expectation in my statement, she's going to have, right? Well, that may mean nothing to Amber. Well, it's not Amber's goal. Fine. Amber sets her goal, right? My wife used to joke about this when we would do like on stage, speaking and stuff. She's like, John and I we have shared goals, right? Things that are for both of us and the family and, whatever. But then I have my own personal goals, which John doesn't have those goals. Like, for example, looking good in a bikini. That's not one of John's goals. So there it is, right? So now, was that selfish? No, it's not. It's not selfish. Look, if you're just going after what you think you should go after based on other people's thoughts, opinions, evaluations of you, whose life are you living? Right? That would be, I would say, self-denial. Self-denial sucks. I say that from experience, by the way, right? So is it relevant to you? What does it feel like? Not what do you think? What does it feel like now that you're having that specific experience? What does it feel like to drive that Mercedes to the beach, right? I'm inventing this experience here for you all to take the kid to Disney World and to or to get that to see that investment fund growing, right? And see that that financial ability that you've accrued, right? What does that feel like, right? Why do you want it? When we approach the idea of relevance, we do it with a question, why? So why do you want to make that money or whatever the goal is? And then ask yourself again, well, to be able to pay my bills. Okay, well, why? Why do you want to pay your bills? Well, so I'm a responsible member of society. Well, why do you want to be a responsible member of society? You can go down this rabbit hole. Why? Keep drilling down, right? And you're going to come up with some interesting answers. This is kind of a meditative experience, but it all reveals what? It reveals the relevance of why you're even showing up in the first place. Because if there is no why, well, the how to doesn't matter, right? Where are we going? I don't know. Maybe somewhere good. Maybe somewhere bad. I guess we'll find out. T stands for time. So there's Parkinson's law, which says that work expands to fill the time allowed for it. Most people give themselves too much time because, again, it's easy to base our expectations on our level of performance that we demonstrated yesterday. Okay, so I shouldn't expect too much of myself, or it's going to take a long time, or it's going to be a lot of work. A lot of work. Missy, I'm sure you remember the little affirmation that I offered you. I think it was yesterday. My old programming falls away from my personality easily and effortlessly. Yep. Okay. Because where I got that from, by the way, was one of my mentors who I was like, oh man, I'm such a screw up. I got all this work to do on myself. I keep thinking these negative thoughts and I'm getting neurotic with all this. And he offered me that affirmation. And I was like, damn, that sounds, first of all, like a lie, but I like it. Maybe we could speak that into existence. And certainly, we've got patterns, right? We've got a memory and all that. But I'm suggesting you develop a forgettery to go along with that memory, right? So you hit the reset button. I got that from Wayne Dyer, by the way, the forgettery. I thought that was just, man, that was well done, Wayne. The late Wayne Dyer. But the idea that we could take as long as we want on stuff, as long as it's not a deadline, right? Well, then as easy as it is to do the right thing, it's even easier to just, not do it. I mean, I got other stuff impinging on me all the time. And that's why, for those of you who've been through our live welcome session or, any amount of accelerator material, that we talk about consistency. Like I enthrone the idea of consistency because consistency allows us to get more done in less time, which is one of the first things that I had to learn how to do when I was becoming successful as an entrepreneur. We can go ahead and spin our wheels, and many do, right? Because we're vague about timelines and goals, just in general, we're vague. Vague doesn't get it done. Okay. But when we've got that, I don't want to use the word deadline per se. Okay. But when we can put that sort of urgency, when we can invent that sort of urgency for ourselves, we tend to get stuff done quicker. And we also tend to overcome the inertia, right? An object at rest tends to stay at rest, and you may be that object right now. Okay, so we can kind of get over that and do something, right? Even if it's just an incremental thing. If we do incremental things, incremental on purpose action, high integrity action on a daily basis, even little things, it's going to add up to some spectacular results. I mean, think of it like this. If you had 1% improvement in your performance each day, you were starting at ground zero, okay? So 1% is infinitely better than zero, infinitely better, okay? Right? So that idea of taking what some people would call baby steps, which can accrue into big steps, because you've tightened it up on yourself, you're not giving yourself all these outs and excuses. In other words, you've burned the boats. Because of that, you're now perceiving these things that used to be mountainous problems as tiny little molehills now. You're perceiving that. And that's real. It's not just your perception. It's also real because you're taking daily action, because you're being consistent, because you're on a timeline, because you don't know you've got eternity to just piss away time like you're immortal, right? You're going to get these goals done. And because of that, you're developing what? Competence, which comes through consistency. I remember when I was taking golf lessons, believe it or not. In fact, the golf instructor, his name was Chip. And jokingly, he said his brother's name was Putt. But this guy could put a ball down. He could put a ball down on the tee, pick up any club, and hit the perfect 5-iron or driver or whatever every time. Every time. I was like, oh. He's like, John, I've hit millions of golf balls. Millions. Okay, I got it. So, assuming I wanted to actually pursue golf, I decided I wasn't that masochistic. I sold my clubs, but assuming I wanted to pursue golf, right? How much consistent action over time would I be willing to apply? Well, great question, right? Is there like a specific, and this is why I say it's masochistic, because you can never really win golf, right? I mean, you're always trying to beat yourself, right? So is there ever, I don't know, maybe some golfers here could enlighten me, but the idea that, and perhaps this is why I found it troubling, the idea that there was no attainable target for me in that particular action, that sport, had me make my exit from it. Now, there's other things which I could say are equally arbitrary, which I do for fun and also for discipline and stuff like that. Some of you know I'm into like shooting and riding motorcycles and weightlifting and stuff like that. And that's all got its benefits. The thing though is that it's not something that I have to do for survival, right? It's something that I could do or not do. But if I've got a goal attached to it, like I'm going to go enter this competition or something, right, and win a trophy or whatever relevant thing for me is, then I would certainly do it more consistently. There's the point, and I would make time to do it. I said I was going to give you a brief explanation of the SMART goals formula. I just gave you a complete one. So much for what I said I was going to do. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until I hear it. But the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. If you got that, my goodness, you're in the top 2 or 3% of Earth inhabitants at this point. I mean, most people are watching Netflix 6 to 7 hours a day.
But there was something else that was really important in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very helpful to me. And you said, because this is where I would always trip myself up in life, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get there. And you said, nobody knows how to reach the goal till they reach the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm overwhelmed by all the material that's come in, but now I feel relaxed almost just from reading that chapter. And that line, it's not like I don't know these things for myself, but when you see it in print and you're willing to be in that place to take it in and do it, it has made a profound difference. I feel that it is going to make a profound difference. Because a lot of other books don't say that. A lot of other people don't say that. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Missy. Thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't have put it in the book if it didn't have a profound effect on my life. And again, the idea of having integrity to these principles. It's one thing to intellectually know this stuff. Oh, look at the words. That's nice. Okay, now let me get back to my miserable existence. No. No, it's the same guy. It's the same John. It's the same Missy. It's the same Amber who's showing up here, who's showing up there. And that could be showing up at the scene of the crime. That could be showing up at the finish line of, great feats of amazingness. Who is it? Who's doing this? Person of integrity? I hope so. That's worth the investment. That's who I'm betting on. And then whatever the vehicle is, okay, hi, Tamisha, come on out. Whatever the vehicle is, e-commerce. Okay, great. Well, let's go make a spectacle of ourselves in e-commerce then. Or not e-commerce. Okay, great. Let's go make a spectacle of ourselves there. If you're going to do it, freaking do it. Do it. Half measures avail us nothing. Hi, Tamisha, you've got the floor.
I have a question. How many SMART goals, in your opinion, should one have? Should you have a SMART goal a day, a week, a month? And should you complete one SMART goal and then have another SMART goal? Like, what is your advice on that, basically, so one doesn't get overwhelmed?
Beautiful. I like the number one when it comes to focus, because I have the ability to focus on one thing at a time. I think multitasking is a misnomer. Multitasking is shifting our focus often and leaving a bunch of incomplete items, incomplete cycles. If the anatomy of success itself is completing what you start, well, then the anatomy of failure is not completing what you start. So how many things can you focus on? Now, we are going to have, and you're going to see this as we continue going through like the accelerator and when we get to your business launch strategy session, which I think for you is coming right up, we're going to have short, medium, and long-term goals. But they're all based on a purpose. That's why when we talked about relevance and why, digging into that rabbit hole. Okay, so here's the purpose. We come up with like, why am I here? Like here in life, like doing any of this. Okay, so here's the overarching purpose. Now, all these goals, whether they're short-term, medium, long-term, whatever, okay, they're all mile markers on the road to the greater fulfillment of your purpose, which you can never totally fulfill. Okay, and then I suggest, especially at the outset with any new endeavor, I suggest getting really clear about a short-term goal. So we're going to set a SMART goal because it's less arbitrary, right? If we say, I'm going to climb that mountain, okay, but right here I can see up to this little, butte that's sticking up, right? That's more real for me than I can't even see the summit of the mountain, right? I know it's there, okay, but I can definitely see some of this path. I can see those rocks, okay. So let's work with what is, right? Let's really embrace that and focus on that. And then more is revealed as we go, keeping in mind the purpose. And this is leading to that higher goal. Okay, so I would say when we chunk it down, the shorter term goals are the things that we can really get smart about if you want to apply that formula. What are your thoughts on that, Tamisha? Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is helpful. I guess what's tripping me up is like I have like a goal of what I want to make per year. And then I'm like trying to chunk it down to per month. And then it's like, okay, just having like the dollar amount, how do you get to that? So then there's passive income, then I have my coaching business. And so it's like, I'm trying to apply like the SMART goals to like everything. And then I don't want to get overwhelmed. So I'm just trying to think to myself, like, do I then categorize that per day with my to-do list? And then I know myself, I tend to then overthink. So I was just curious how you strategize your day, and do you incorporate that SMART goal formula with that?
Yeah, beautiful. So that's a great question. And the idea of overthinking, I have to remind myself all the time that imperfect and done beats perfect and not done. Perfectionism is a nice justifier, I suppose, for procrastination. But the idea of having overwhelm typically comes for me when I'm in a state of mystery about what to do. Overwhelm, confusion, indecision, right? So again, that's why I say bring it a bit closer, because you can see the path. right? And you know what to do. You step there, right? Whereas some of these other things that are further in the distance, I don't personally know because I don't have a crystal ball. It's been on back order for a long time, but I don't personally know the path that's going to lead to that summit. I had an opportunity come up just the other day, guys, which I had nothing to do with. We're doing our work. I do this consulting work, and we've got this contract, and it's kind of not going so good, and whatever. And I got one of my star guys, ace, salespeople in on this contract, and he's not making the money that he should be making. I know it. He knows it, and we're kind of like dragging this contract along, and out of the blue, I got a call, said, you know what? We got this other deal. And here's the stats. Holy crap. I'm wondering if we can get your guy on this. And it's not going to be any additional effort for me. It's going to be more money for me. But no additional effort. How did that happen? Oh, it's the ethers of the universe. Oh, whatever. Call it whatever you want. Okay. All I know is we're reaching goals. And now I'm considering not just my own, but this other guy who I want to be well fed. Right. And so did I know that I was going to get that call? Did I induce that? Nothing. I did nothing. So do you know? I don't know. I don't know the path.
I think
right.
you did.
I'm going to walk it and then more will be revealed. Yeah. Anyway, Tamisha, I'm so excited you're here. You're so awesome. That's Tamisha, everybody. Awesome. Holy crap. We've been talking a half hour. How did you guys do that? Was it me? Who else? Who else has some commentary here? Questions, comments? Since we're having a little fireside chat with Uncle John. Thank you, David. I see your text. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Anybody else?
Hi, Mr. John.
Hey, Miriam.
So I actually had a question, but it didn't have to do with the SMART because I understood all of that. But it was mostly on contacting our, like Gail, the people who are supposed to, we're supposed to like work with. So I was wondering, yes, our accountability rep, and I've had trouble contacting her because of the email was not working. So I was wondering if you could give that message.
Miriam Ba. Okay. Miriam Ba. I will call out the troops on that. Is Gail here right now? Gail's not here. Lovely Gail.
I'm here.
Gail is here.
Oh, okay.
Problem solved.
Thank
Gail,
you.
meet Miriam. Miriam, meet Gail.
Hi. So I had a bit of trouble contacting you on the email. It wasn't working. So I was wondering if you could maybe like contact me using that email again and see how that ends up.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
at that.
Yeah.
Solutions are us. Who's next? Anybody else? All right, my friends, I'll let you get on with your day. Have an awesome one. You totally deserve it. I'll be back here with you in 23 and a half hours. So in the meantime, get with your accountability reps, go through some more accelerated modules. Emma's saying I have a similar issue contacting my accountability rep. So Emma Barty, I currently have laryngitis and can't speak. Oh, your accountability rep can't solve your laryngitis, but they can text with you. So Emma, if you can text them or get a text from them. And thank you all. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I'm seeing that in the chat. I will see you all again here real soon. I'm really looking forward to it. Make it a great day, okay? Bye for now.